You ever have one of those moments where you just sit there and think, wow, the nerve of some people? Because let me tell you, last weekend I got a masterclass in audacity delivered by a woman with a shiny walking stick and an ego to match. And you know what? If you've ever dealt with a neighbor who thinks the world spins on their schedule, you're going to feel right at home in this story. 6 months ago, I finally did it. I bought myself the place I'd always dreamed of. Saved up for years, ate a lot of instant noodles, skipped more vacations than I'd like to admit, and got myself a weird little flag lot on the lake. If you've never heard that term, imagine a property shaped like a long pipe, 200 feet of skinny driveway, before you finally burst out into this wide-open slice of lakeside heaven. Cost me more than I'll ever admit to my parents, but every cent was worth it. Privacy, water out front, the whole 9 yards. Now here's where it gets fun. My property butts right up against the local HOA's community park, which is just a fancy way to say strip of grass with a couple benches. No fence between us, just a few tiny survey stakes poking out of the ground, so unless you're squinting, you wouldn't even notice. Which suited me fine, open view, open air. I work from home doing IT consulting, and I like my peace. My idea of a great morning coffee, a folding chair, and a fishing rod by the water before anyone else wakes up. Most mornings, the lake is glassy and still. Bass, bluegills, sometimes a heron gliding by. The HOA folks seemed normal enough at first. When I moved in, they sent a little welcome packet, told me I could use their walking path if I wanted, never mind that my property isn't actually part of their association. My house is older than the HOA itself, so I'm not subject to their rules, but hey, a neighborly gesture is a neighborly gesture. Fast forward to last Saturday, I'm up at 6. Coffee in hand, tackle box under my arm, set up my best camping chair cup holder, and all thank you very much about 10 feet from the water. The breeze was just enough to keep the bugs away. The sun was coming up, and for a while it was perfect. Then here comes that sound. Click, click, click. The unmistakable rhythm of someone power walking down the HOA path, swinging those fancy sticks like they're on an Olympic mission. Usually people just wave or ignore me. Not today. Today the clicking stopped. I could feel eyes boring into the side of my head. You know that sixth sense you get? That, oh, here we go, feeling, yeah. That, excuse me. The kind of voice that's not really asking anything, it's telling. I look up and there she is, a woman in her 50s, decked out in what had to be the priciest workout gear this side of a Lululemon catalog. Hands on her hips, eyes locked on me like she's spotted a burglar. Fishing is strictly prohibited for non-residents. You're polluting the view with all that gear. Honestly, I blinked. That's how confused I was. Polluting the view, I had one chair and a tackle box, not exactly a factory operation. So I did what any self-respecting introvert does, selective hearing. I turned back to my line, hoping she'd power walk her way out of my life. Of course I was dreaming. Her clicking got closer. She muttered about people these days and no respect for community standards, and suddenly, boom, she's on my grass marching straight at me. Did you hear me? Now she's 15 feet away, glaring. Ma'am, I said, trying my best not to sound annoyed. I think there's been a misunderstanding. No misunderstanding, she snapped back. This is the Homeowners Association's common area. You need a member ID card to be here. And I can tell just by looking at you, you don't have one. Now I was in jeans and a t-shirt. Not exactly slumming it, but not a walking country club either. Guess I missed the memo about dress codes for backyard fishing. Don't need a card to sit in my own backyard, I told her, keeping my voice level. She laughed, a short, sharp thing that crawled under my skin. Your backyard? That's rich. I know who bought that house up on the hill, and it sure wasn't anyone who looks like you. She just let that hang there. My jaw tightened, but I kept it together. Ma'am, I'm going to need you to leave my private property. Wrong answer. She turned bright red, stomped closer, and pulled out her phone. Private property. Are you kidding? This entire shoreline is HOA land. I've been the architectural review chair for 7 years. I know every inch of this place. She waved her phone around like it was a badge. You've got 30 seconds to pack up your junk and get out before I call the police for trespassing and illegal poaching. I just gestured to the nearest survey stake. Reception's better if you stand by that stake. She stomped over phone pressed to her ear. Here's the punchline: that stake marked the edge of my property, so now she was a good 15 feet inside my yard, yelling to 911 about an unstable man with fishing gear pillaging the lake. I kid you not. Possibly armed with fishing equipment. I made a note to tell my wife that one. She kept glaring at me while she waited for the cops, and I caught a base. Made her scowl even harder. When she finally hung up, she stormed over and hissed, The police are on their way. You're in serious trouble. I just reeled in my line as calm as a stone. Let's see what they have to say. 10 minutes later, a cruiser rumbled down my long driveway. Karen, yeah, at this point I was calling her Karen, and my head straightened up, slapped on her best help I'm a victim face, and hustled over to the officers. 2 of them got out. The older one had that I've seen it all look. The younger one looked like he'd been waiting his whole life for something exciting to happen. Karen put on a show. Officers, thank goodness you're here. This man is trespassing on HOA property, fishing illegally, and he threatened me. The older officer looked at her, looked at me, looked back at her. Ma'am, what exactly did he threaten you with? She hesitated. Well, not with words, but he refused to leave when I told him this was private HOA property. He turned to me. Mind if I ask what's going on? I handed over my laminated property survey and plat map. Morning, officer. I was fishing in my backyard when this lady came over and demanded I leave. I asked her politely to get off my land. She refused and called you folks. They took their time, studied the documents, looked at the stakes, looked at the map, looked at Karen. Ma'am, the officer called, you're about 15 feet inside this man's private property right now. You said this was community land. She spluttered. It is, there's no fence. The grass is the same. He just pointed to the stake. That's a legal boundary marker. Everything on this side belongs to him. Her face went from red to pale so fast I almost felt bad. Almost. The younger cop chimed in. Just because you've been walking somewhere doesn't make it yours. And it definitely doesn't let you tell the property owner to leave his own land. Then the big question. Sir, do you want to press charges for trespassing? I looked at Karen, who suddenly looked a lot smaller. For a second I thought about it. After the comments, the attitude. But honestly, the embarrassment was probably enough. I won't press charges this time, I said loud enough for her to hear. But I want a formal trespass warning. If she comes back without permission next time, it's automatic arrest. Karen muttered, didn't look at anyone, but signed the form the officers brought over. The older cop gave her a little lecture about filing false police reports. 911 isn't for settling property disputes. She mumbled something about not realizing and shuffled back toward the path. After they left, I gave her a little wave. She picked up her pace. That was supposed to be the end, right? But no. Word spreads fast in small communities. For the next week, neighbors I'd never met stopped by to apologize for the incident. I got a letter from the HOA board apology signatures, a gift of peace, which was actually a nice cooler with their logo. Thought about sending it back out of principle, but hey, it was a good cooler. Then I got creative. Hired a surveyor, then a fencing company put up a 6-foot privacy fence right on the line. Not just any fence, a chain link monster with bright green plastic slats legal, but ugly as sin. Karen's favorite shortcut to the park, gone. She had to walk an extra 200 yards every morning. The first time she saw it, she just stared through the slats, then took the long way around. Funny how quickly word got out. After that, the HOA folks kept their distance, always polite. Never tried anything again. Fishing's been more peaceful than ever. And the fish, let me tell you, taste even better when you know karma's out there working overtime. Karen quit the architectural committee not long after. Personal reasons, they said. Right. But if you think that's where it stops, hold on. About a month after the fence went up, a county sedan rolled into my driveway. 2 people in suits, clipboards measuring equipment. County planning department, they'd gotten a complaint about my fence and wetland violations. Guess who filed it? I walked them around, showed every survey, stake, and document. After 20 minutes, they were shaking their heads. Your fence is legal well inside your property. The person who filed this complaint doesn't even have standing. They said if this person filed again, they'd refer it for harassment. Karen was still power walking in the distance, pretending not to notice us. 2 days later, the HOA president himself called, apologizing for the former board member. Turns out she'd been filing complaints with every agency she could, zoning, environmental, even the fire department, saying my fence blocked emergency access. Each one got shut down, and the HOA sent her a cease and desist. Then came the environmental inspector. Clipboard water tests, measuring tape, checked the whole property. After an hour, he said, "This is one of the most environmentally responsible lakefronts in the county. All the claims, concrete in the water chemicals, fake photos, none of it true. In fact, those pictures weren't even of my property. Filing false reports. That's a crime." He said he'd forward the case to their enforcement division. By now, Karen's complaints were starting to add up. The same police officer from before showed up a few weeks later, sat with me on the porch. "We're looking into criminal harassment. False reports, false documents. This isn't just a neighbor spat anymore. He asked for my paperwork timeline statements. The county attorney's deciding whether to press charges. Either way, you've got a strong civil case. 3 weeks later, he called me back. She's being charged with criminal harassment and filing false government reports. Restitution's over $3,000 for all the wasted time and investigations. Plus, there's a restraining order now. She can't contact you or file any more complaints. But the real cherry on top, I was out fishing one morning and saw a for sale sign in front of Karen's house. She moved out within 6 weeks, heard she went to a retirement community out of state. The new neighbors are a sweet young family. Their kids sometimes fish with me. The HOA sent another apology gift and put up proper boundary markers so no one could accidentally wander onto my land again. I still have that ugly green fence, but now I'm growing some nice climbing vines on the HOA side. The message is clear, but I figured I could be generous once the dust settled. These days, my Saturdays are as peaceful as I imagined when I first bought the place. No more confrontations, no more drama, just the lake, the fish, and the knowledge that sometimes justice isn't loud. Sometimes it's just a quiet morning with a hot coffee and no one breathing down your neck about community standards. People talk a lot about rights and rules, but here's what I've learned. Never assume, where the lines are figuratively or literally unless you've seen the paperwork. And if you think you can muscle your way into someone's life because you're used to getting your way, well, sometimes the universe sends you an ugly green fence and a court summons just to remind you where you stand. So, what do you think? Is it ever okay to take matters into your own hands when someone oversteps their bounds, or should you always let the authorities handle it? And have you ever had a neighbor who made you wish you'd bought property somewhere with no neighbors at all? I'd love to hear your take or your own stories down in the comments.